everyone, and welcome to Procure Smarter. I am Dr. Sharon Cook, the founder of ProcureSmart. We are a hospitality-focused procurement agency. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about shipping containers. In particular, where the heck are they? My goal with this podcast is to give an outlet to all players in hospitality. I'm hoping to get vendors from around the world, freight managers, designers, architects, and even contractors. I want to hear all things that make your life better and more difficult. An article came out last week in the Wall Street Journal by a gentleman named Paul Berger. And through this article, I learned the term container dislocation. According to this article, thousands of containers are stranded at sea on ships that are unable to get into jam ports. And even more containers are stacking up at inland freight hubs in the US, Asia, and Europe. This container dislocation has caused skyrocketing costs, and hospitality has been hit particularly hard. As small hoteliers look to do brand-required renovations, the cost of freight containers can make the project almost impossible. In 2018, the average cost of a container was around $4,500, and I have personally seen unsecured freight containers go to the highest bidder, and the cost was around $15,000 per container. And this is completely unsustainable for small projects. I am in no way an expert in freight management, although I have been doing this for over 22 years, and it has been a while since I've seen something this crazy happen in shipping. I have heard some pretty crazy conspiracy theories about where these shipping containers are at. I had somebody tell me that the Chinese government was hoarding them to drive up the price of freight. I'm not saying I don't think this is a possibility, but I really don't think the Chinese government is hoarding containers. In fact, if what I'm reading is correct, most of the containers are sitting in the US. The only discrepancy that I ran across in my research was about new containers. One article I read says that container factories, mostly in China, are expected to produce 5.4 million 20-foot containers in the next year. However, a second article says that production of new containers is very low, and scrapping of old containers now exceeds building of new ones. Congestion on the rail networks and a shortage of trucks and truck drivers and warehouse personnel is only adding to the backup at the cargo facilities. Congestion and delays have increased the time it takes for a container to get from Beijing to Chicago to more than 70 days, which is up from an average of 30 days 2 years ago. As many factories close temporarily due to COVID, this has caused large numbers of containers to be stopped at the port. However, just as important, in order to stabilize freight costs, carriers have sent out fewer vessels. Not only did this put the brake on imports and exports, but it also meant containers were not being picked up. And North America currently faces a 40% imbalance. For every 100 containers that arrive, only 40 are going back out. What most people want to know is there a solution, and how long is this going to last? Some experts say that the shipping container shortage could last another 2 years, and that manufacturing containers in China are overbooked for the next 12 months. I think now more than ever, it's time to align yourself with a reputable freight manager. There are plenty out there that will do an excellent job. Now listen, I have worked with some freight managers that have not done a great job, and I will not name those, but do your research, get some references. If you are a freight manager, I would love to have you on the show. We could really all benefit from your insight. I would also like to add here that an increase in freight costs is just one of the many supply issues caused by this pandemic. My best advice is to resist blanket statements from vendors suggesting all raw materials are increasing in cost. That's not true. Not all costs are rising, and this is a good time to look at cost reduction opportunities. Could you switch from steel to plastic? Is just an example. This is a great time to get out there and look for vendors who are doing it for less. Now is not the time to be disconnected from your suppliers. Reach out to them and see how they are handling the challenges and get their buy-in to solutions. On the lighter side, here are a few items that are facing supply chain shortages. We all know there was a period of time where toilet paper and Clorox wipes were worth their weight in gold. However, other items have become just as scarce. For example, liquor. Vermont is undergoing a pandemic-related liquor shortage. According to WCAX TV, it is a global issue. And not only is there a worker and shipping issue, there's a shortage of glass. As restaurants and bars reopen, this has become more prevalent. Say it isn't so, but there's a shortage of ketchup. Due to the increase of takeout during the pandemic, Heinz ran out of single-serve ketchup packets. Finally, home workout equipment became hard to find during the past spring and summer as local gyms closed. In particular, kettlebells. All of this has me asking, is it time to think local? I've been asked several times over the last few months to source U.S. or Canadian-based goods. And in theory, this is doable. However, over the last few years, large percentages of our manufacturing have gone overseas for cost reasons. Are we now seeing the value in paying more for a more secure delivery? Manufacturing has indeed moved away from mainland China, but it does not mean that it has returned to the United States. In 1980, the manufacturing employment population was approximately 19 million, and so far only 12.8 million remain. An argument could be made that the U.S. manufacturing workforce no longer has the skills needed to meet production. I don't really believe that the U.S. manufacturing labor pool no longer has the skills. I do think it's time to encourage our next generation to think about manufacturing and to think about skills that they might consider to be outdated. Okay, listeners, I hope that you have found this podcast interesting and would like to hear more. I would also love to invite you to be on the show. If you would like to share something interesting or new your company is doing, then I would love to talk to you. You can reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn, or you can email me at sharon@ProcureSmartCo.com. I have a lot of exciting things coming up that I want to share with you. In particular, I have interviews with Drew Murray with the M Group. And very excitedly, I have an interview with Bruce Ford of Elodging Econometrics. So stay tuned for that. That's it for today. Remember to be patient and kind, and that success is always right outside your comfort zone.